I will not be so interested, let's say, to go to the grocery store in my small town that I grew up, because I was always thinking about, oh, I might meet somebody I knew from the past. And my ego don't like that for several reasons, several reasons. What we talked about in the past, or how our relationship was then, or what I'm doing now, and like the ego basically just didn't want to meet somebody. And I was thinking that this is a problem, because it's just like, it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like, I shouldn't be worried to go to the grocery store. I shouldn't be worried about it. So if you have kind of similar situation in your life with something that you think, like, I should be able to do this, but you're like, your ego, that's like the ego is like trying to protect you, right? And wanted to protect you, but the protection is like, it's not healthy, you know what I mean, for your well-being. And that's why I wanted today to talk about like stepping out of your ego, so you are not um dealing with this kind of protection mechanism, because I think so many people are affected by this. Not only me in my small town, it's more people in this small town that are affected by this heavily. And they are wearing their ego, and they're like, I cannot do this, I cannot say that, I have to put on a mask, I have to be uptight, I have to make sure I say the right things if I meet somebody I know on the street or in the grocery store, for example. They're like very uptight people, and that's just the ego, right? The ego trying to protect the ego, or like the brain trying to protect the ego. I mean, like yeah. At least you're living in the ego when you're living like this, and you don't want that, because it's like, it's an unfree state. It's like a sad state. It's not a joyful state to be in as a human being. So, and then I will come to my thing here. Like, every human being on this planet has the ability to go outside of the ego. And I talked in my videos about light energy to really notice how you're feeling when for example, in my instance, when I go inside the grocery store, the first thing you want to do to get out of your ego is to notice, observe, what are you feeling right now when you're stepping inside the grocery store or stepping outside. I'm using my example right now, and you can find your own example in your life. In my instance, when I step out of the car on my way to the grocery store, when I step inside the building of the grocery store, when I'm walking in the aisles in the grocery store, what am I feeling when I'm picking vegetables? What am I feeling? Observing my emotions in my body. Because observing emotions, then you don't take them for, let's say, real. If I'm stressed, like if I'm observing that or if I'm not observing that I'm stressed, well, that it comes a stress reaction in my body, then it will just build up and up and up and be more and more stressed and more like in fight or flight. But if I notice it, I just observe, like, okay, when I'm standing here now, I notice a bit of stress coming, like flight response in my body. And when I observe it, it removes itself, it goes away, it doesn't take control over me. And that's what stepping out of the ego means. That's stepping into light energy, like easy light, like light and heavy. That's what I mean. Light energy. And yeah, so that's what I'm doing when I go inside the grocery store. And then I noticed that I'm someone else than I would be if I was in my ego. You know, if I was in my ego, I would just get my stuff and almost run out of the building because I don't want to meet somebody there, you know, in the store. But I don't want, like, it's the ego that doesn't want to meet somebody, you know? And, and, um, and we have different, and I have different things like this in my life. And it keeps you in a leash, right? It keeps you in a, like a, um, it shrinks your life basically very much because you're just controlling and in your brain and like ruminating a lot throughout the day and what to do to keep yourself protected, keep the ego protected. And it's it's um it's painful to be in because you're constantly living in the past and constantly looking out for danger. But it's only danger because you're living in the ego, right? It's only danger because you're living in the ego. When I'm outside of my ego, outside of the ego, I am at peace. In excitement, in joy, in like, oh, this wasn't so scary that I thought it was, you know. For the ego, it was very scary to go in the grocery store, but when I'm outside of the ego, it's no problem, right? Or it's like it's just an exciting experience because I was thinking, oh, it's such a problem to go in the grocery store. This affects many people, and for me, I'm just like very eager to share this with people that are dealing with similar things. Um, yeah, because I know it's such a great relief from it, from stepping out of the ego and being in light energy and not being ashamed and like having a lot of shame, walking around with a lot of shame. Only the ego can really feel shame, right? It's like that's like keeping the ego running, the ego system running, and you going into this kind of loop of ruminating, of thinking and controlling your behaviors all the time, which is exhausting. It's really exhausting, and it's really like you feel like an alien with amongst other people. It's really exhausting, and it's not the truth. It's only the truth for the ego. It's only really real for the ego, I mean, but it's not the truth. Let the truth set you free by stepping outside of your ego. I don't want my ego to run me, you know, and my behaviors and my thoughts and my feelings. I don't want an ego to run those things, you know. And I will argue that this is the only way that you can ever possibly have a good life and joyful life and be able to love. To be able to love not only a specific person, but to able to be in a state where I'm giving out love. I'm not like, oh, I'm just keeping to myself. I'm not gonna love somebody until they love me and stuff like that. No. When you're outside of your ego, you are love itself, you know. You are giving love and you are receiving and opening yourself up for love, basically. And that's I wouldn't think about, I wouldn't find anything more beautiful than that for yourself as a human being. It's such a individual and it's such a selvständig, what is that? standing on your own 2 feet, you know, what is it called again in English? It's like that you don't need that you're standing on your own 2 feet. I will search it up because I forgot the word right now. Independent, of course. Yeah, independent. You're an independent being. And yeah, it's a very joyful experience and existence to live outside of your ego, because you are opening yourself not only to love and all of those beautiful things, but also another beautiful thing, you're opening yourself up to doing things that was scary in the ego. Maybe you had a block, which many people have, to go up to someone on the street, someone you don't know, and talk to them. Maybe that's a huge block. Why is it such a huge block? It's because the ego wants to protect itself, doesn't want to make a fool of him or herself, doesn't want to say something wrong or stupid or all of these kind of things that puts a barrier on your entire life and trying to protect you, you know. So you're missing out of a lot of things when you're living in the ego. When you step out of it, you open yourself up to so many possibilities and things that wasn't possible when you were living in ego. It wasn't possible because you were afraid, basically. You're trying to stay safe. That's what it is eventually about. It's like trying to stay safe, you know, wanting to stay safe. I running into the grocery store, getting my stuff real quick and running out again. It's only because the body and the being, the ego, wants to feel safe. Safety is all there is. But when you step out of the ego, you realize that there is no need to rush in the grocery store. I don't need to run inside the grocery store, get my stuff real quick and run outside again because I don't want to meet somebody there. That's not necessary to do, to live like that, you know? Yeah. You know? I want to live like I do now, outside of my ego. I want to be in a joyous state. I want to go up to people on the street I found interesting to talk to because I feel like doing it. You know? I feel like being in a state where I don't have to prove myself. You know? That's like I want to be in a state where I don't have to prove myself, where I don't have to hide and isolate or be careful about being seen. I don't want to live like that. So I'm stepping out of the ego. I don't want to live like someone else can be the judge of my existence. You know? If somebody wants to live like that, live in the ego and judge other people and judge themselves and let they can have that. They can live like that. Fine for me. But I am not gonna live like that. I'm stepping out of the ego, living freely. Being opening myself up for all the possibilities. That wasn't possible when I lived in the ego. All right? So what we fear, again, what I fear is just ego. It's just ego. When you remove yourself from ego, the possible this just like it's just becomes like you become joyful in your body and in your existence. You become light. That's what I'm talking about. Light energy. I become light, you know. I don't become heavy, aggressive, bitter, stressed, anxious, nervous, shy, you know, introverted. I don't put on this fake identity. I don't put on like an identity at all. I just a free being, flowing, you know, flowing.